What's up, sports fans? Welcome to the podcast live stream. I am your host, Alex Cuesta, as always, and today I'm going to do what I've been doing the past few months where I go live, I interact with all of you, and I do what I do and I talk sports. So if you want to get in contact with me, you can text me, you can comment on any of the comments sections, whether it be Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on the Spreaker app. So any of those spots, I'm going to be checking them constantly. So you can comment on any of those, and I will be sure to talk about those comments. I have kind of stopped what I've been doing whenever anyone's joined to say hello to them. Not going to do it that way this time, but if you have a comment, I will gladly talk about your comment, interrupt anything that I'm saying to talk about it. But we're going to have some fun here. I got plenty of topics to cover, and it's going to be a really good time. I always look forward to doing this. Probably going to spend about an hour again, like normal, doing this. And away we go, as always. So, first things first, I gotta rep the shirt. I always do, wearing Maris Cross Country. If you could see there, they did an awesome job this weekend, specifically the women, tying the school's top time, top record place, 11th in the region. They finished second last week in the MAC conference to Iona. They are just having one hell of a run under coach Chuck Williams, who you've heard on this show before. The team is awesome. They're really good. They do their thing all the time, and they're only going to get stronger. So, congrats to them. On the med side, they battled. They haven't been as strong as they wanted to be, but specifically, senior Michael Kennedy really stepped it up this year, and he had a fantastic year, really being the lead guy that nobody expected to really come out and run as well as he did. So, congrats to Michael Kennedy. Um, Everyone continue to fight. And I'm really excited to see what the future is for this whole team and the whole program going ahead. But again, repping my alma mater, repping Maris today. And it's going to be a blast to see where they go there with Coach Chuck Williams, Coach Pete Kaliza. So, getting into the nuts and bolts, as always, the podcast. Right now, like I said, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube Live, we're on Spreaker, we're live in all of those places. Hopefully, people get out, come out and watch this, share this, let people know that we are here. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to get started with some NFL talk first. And I got to poke fun at one guy. I know my wife Julie is watching right now, and one of your former wide receivers, Des Bryant, recently joined the Saints, and that was a player that I personally wanted on my New York Jets because the Jets were having some wide receiver trouble, and they needed some guys. Yeah, disregard that hair. I don't know what's going on right there. Disregard that guy if you're watching this. But they were having some wide receiver trouble lately, and I wanted the Jets to go grab Des Bryant. He's a consistent guy. He's a big body, but the Saints ended up getting him, and I thought that's a great pickup for the Saints. Drew Brees is there, legendary quarterback, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. Adding a big possession dude like Des Bryant was going to be great for them. He ended up tearing his Achilles at the practice on Friday and is probably out for the season. So it is ridiculous that he signed so quickly. He's out for the season now, and it was just over so fast. This was a guy that talked with a lot of bravado. He was still confident that he was the one of the best wide receivers in the game. He was ready to prove it. He was ready to go to battle and go to war. And unfortunately for him, it ended up too late. Um, so I feel bad for Des Bryant. I wish he could have played this year, and I wish he could have played on that Saints team who's playing really, really well. But overall, I just think that it's kind of funny to see a guy like him really go down that way. And my wife and Melissa Martinez both cannot unsee this ridiculous hair. Let me see if I can just pull one of these numbers. Did it go away? Kind of, not really at all. Sweet. That's gonna haunt me all day today. Awesome. Anyway, as we continue to roll on with some NFL talk, I want to get into wide receivers. We were just talking about Dez, but for the Minnesota Vikings, Adam Thielen has been absolutely killing it. He's been tearing it up, and arguably he's been the best wide receiver. And I saw something on Twitter where, no, it did a little bit, Melissa, shut up. But arguably on Twitter, They compared Adam Thielen to Julio Jones, who has been widely regarded one of the best wide receivers in the game. And it's tough for me to really say yes or no or make odds or ends of that because Adam Thielen has been playing some really good football. But when you still have guys like Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, DeAndre Hopkins, who are just unbelievably talented guys, it's tough to put Thielen at the top and call him the best right now. So I'm really not going to go that far. Is he playing the best football currently? Is he probably the best route runner in the NFL and has great hands at the moment? Yeah, he's definitely the guy that has the best and the most going for him in the moment. But overall, I definitely cannot call him the best wide receiver in the game because, like I said, those other guys exist. They're really, really good. They're talented people. And there's other guys that are just better than Adam Thielen. He has the benefit of having Kirk Cousins thrown to him, which is very nice too. A super accurate quarterback. So Adam Thielen playing really well, not the best. So I'm going to jump in. Lately, if anyone's looked, I've done my picks, preseason picks for every single team. I put them out there with the real records. I caught up to this week 9. I haven't been doing too well, so I don't know if anyone wants to take my advice on predictions really right now. But overall, I've been looking at this year, and I've been having debates with people on who is going to be in the Super Bowl. If anyone is listening to the podcast with me doing sports betting with the Million Lira Man and Wally, we're actually doing really well the past 2 weeks. We are, I think, 13-0-1. I'm 8-0. He is 5-0-1 over the past 2 weeks. So we've been doing really well. And if you're thinking about picks right now, I'm thinking about who are the Super Bowl favorites at the moment. I've been talking about um, the LA Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers possibly making an all LA Super Bowl. And it's something that I think is really realistic. Philip Rivers has the Chargers playing really well. The Chargers have never been a team that have come out straight from the gate and been good. They are 6-0 right now at the halfway point, or 6-2. Sorry, 6-2 at the halfway point, and they don't seem to be slowing down. They play a really good brand of football, and they're just an overall tough team that can challenge the Patriots, who I think me and Wally believed are the favorites to go back to the Super Bowl. Sorry to everyone who hates the Patriots, including myself. It's just reality. And on the other side, I know the Rams just lost to the Saints, but I still think the Rams are the strongest team in the NFC. They went into Louisiana, into New Orleans, into the Dome where Drew Brees is at his best, put up 35 points against them. And were just monsters, complete and total monsters against a really good team. Yes, they ultimately lost 45-35, but you cannot discount how good the Rams are. The Rams are still my Super Bowl favorites out of the NFC. And unfortunately, I had to say the Patriots are still my favorites out of the AFC, even though the Steelers just played really, really well against the Panthers and dismantled them, scoring 52 points. I don't know who the Steelers are going to be week to week, so I cannot call them my Super Bowl favorites. So at this moment, I'm saying Rams, Patriots, the new greatest show on turf against Tommy Terrific, arguably the best quarterback of all time. So that is my prediction for the Super Bowl. We are going to slide right into some NBA action. And we're going pretty quick, but I have a lot to cover. Again, if anyone has any comments, anyone wants anything for that they want me to specifically talk about in sports, something they're curious, something they just want to make a comment about, please throw it in there. I will gladly answer any questions that you have to the best of my knowledge. And we can just talk about whatever you want to talk about as well. Next topic I'm jumping into, I'm going into NBA basketball. And basketball right now just had a really huge sports story where Jimmy Butler of the Minnesota Timberwolves has been disgruntled. He's wanted out for a long time, and he's finally out. For the longest time, my boy, Brandon Scoopy Robinson, has been reporting that the Houston Rockets were on top. But he also mentioned other teams like the Heat and also like the Sixers, where he ultimately went. And on the 10th, November 10th, if you look this morning, which is today, November 10th, if you look this morning at 3 a.m. before this trade went down, Scoop had it out there that Philadelphia is now heavily in the game and the interest is there. So he's been on top of this completely and totally. But Jimmy Butler now is officially a Philadelphia 76er. He was in a trade for Sarge Covington and a second round pick. And what does that do for the East? Because widely regarded, the Celtics have been the team that everyone in the East has predicted to come out. The Celtics have the depth. They have Kyrie Irving. They have Gordon Hayward. They're a really, really good and deep team. But now we look at the play of a team like the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they are just atop of the power rankings and Bleacher Report for the NBA, ahead of the Golden State Warriors. And then you have the Sixers, who are a young team that make this trade for Jimmy Butler, who's arguably one of the top five two-way players in the NBA. I know people hate him because of his attitude, but there is no arguing that he can create his own shot at will, and he's one of the better defenders in the game. So you need to just look at that, take your bias aside and your opinions on how you feel about the guy, and just look at the pure talent and how he's going to fit in with an amazing distributor in Ben Simmons, a dominant big man in Joel Embiid, and he's going to take the spot of where Markel Fultz was supposed to be, who was supposed to be a guy who can create his own shot. He's going to take that spot, and being a star in his own right, Jimmy Butler is going to fill that spot well. He can light it up for 20 plus a night. He will guard the best player on the other team almost every single time. You can't dispel the importance of that guy. You're going to see him guarding a guy like Kyrie Irving if they see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. And he's going to be a tough guy, or he'll switch on to Gordon Hayward, or he'll guard Jason Tatum. He can guard multiple guys and take Ben Simmons, who's huge. Ben Simmons can guard multiple guys. This Sixers team just got a lot better with Butler. So who is now the favorites coming out of the East? Right now, the Bucks are playing the best basketball, but you still have to possibly think that it is the Celtics just based off the depth. I need to see about 20 games of Butler playing with the Sixers before I can see how they gel. But if they gel the way I think they will, then they're a team to watch out for, because Jimmy Butler definitely launches himself as one of the top five players in the East, with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kawhi Leonard battling for the top spot up there. Kyrie Irving probably sitting there at 3. John Wall, you cannot discount him at 4. Butler is arguably now the 5th best player in the East. He returns back to the East, where he had a lot of success with the Bulls. And I'm interested to see what goes on in Philly. Philly is a big pick, and they are a sleeper team because they're young, they're athletic, they can be annoying. And now you add one of the best defensive players and one of the best scorers in the game, and you have the recipe for a very good winning team. Now we're going to travel to the Western Conference, where I'll talk about the Los Angeles Lakers a little bit. And LeBron James and the Lakers are struggling down there. Now we see this whenever LeBron James goes to a new team. We see that they struggle a little because they need to learn how to gel. There's a lot of veteran players that they brought there with Rajon Rondo. Tyson Chandler was just added to shore up some defense. I watched them when to shoot. They don't know when not to shoot. They are it's troubling for these young players. And they can't understand exactly where to go and what to do and what time to do it. So who are you talking about? Jimmy Butler, or are you, Melissa, or are you talking about LeBron? Because if it's LeBron, then LeBron's not horrible in the locker room. LeBron is just a guy that demands greatness in the locker room, and he knows how to win. He's won championships, and he's just fantastic when it comes to understanding how to win games. So I cannot discount LeBron. Now, I think this Lakers team is going to be good. I was going to write a piece on how they're actually my favorites to come out of the West, because every time LeBron jumps on a team, they automatically should be the favorites to go to any finals at all. But it's just really tough to just how good that the Lakers are going to be when you're currently watching them play. Let's see. Facebook is having some trouble. It's now the second time that I've done this, that Facebook has had trouble. And let's see. Got to redo my Facebook real quick. So I'm sorry to anybody on YouTube, anybody listening on Spreaker. I have to end my live on Facebook and go again, because Facebook really hates working a lot. And it's one of the better ones to get out there, because a lot of people watch the Facebook and how badly Facebook works. I'm not going to lie. So unfortunately, at this phase in the game, I'm gonna have to take a second and relaunch my Facebook Live. We're gonna access the camera and boom, going live again. Let's see. And Facebook is coming back. Sorry again to everyone on YouTube and Spreaker. And I'm back on Facebook Live. Hello, everyone. Facebook Live again. Sorry if I lost anybody. I am back. Anyone wants to rejoin? I know Melissa was there. You were leaving a comment. My wife is back, hopefully. But I'm back. Hi, Melissa. I see that you're back. Who were you talking about in your comment before about being a bad locker room guy? Were you talking about LeBron? Because I don't know if that's who you were talking about, or were you talking about Jimmy Butler? Because you made a big boo too. But I'm going to continue while Melissa answers who she was talking about. I'm going to continue talking about who doesn't like me. My wife doesn't like me. I know she doesn't like me. Rondo isn't a bad. I don't know if Rondo's a bad dude. Rondo's a little immature, but he's not going to pull any of that crap with the veterans like LeBron being there. And he's not going to do it now that Tyson Chandler's in the locker room. Those are the type of guys that'll put Rajon Rondo in his place. It's similar to when he was in the locker room with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, where he wasn't going to act up like that. It's only when he's the alpha that he acts up. So I'm okay with Rondo and his role on that team. His role is basically to teach Lonzo Ball how to play point guard because they're very similar players where neither of them are great jump shooters, even though Rondo is shooting the three very well this year. But neither of them are great jump shooters. And that also goes to my point with the Lakers. The Lakers need to get themselves a jump shooter. The Lakers don't have a great three-point shooter. LeBron's average. Rondo's not good. Lonzo Ball's not good. Brandon Ingram's okay. Kyle Kuzma needs to get better there. They lost a good three-point shooter with Brook Lopez, who they had last year. But their three-point shooting right now is very, very, very suspect. And I even suggested, and I wrote an article about how they might want to consider trading with my Brooklyn Nets. My Brooklyn Nets have Joe Harris, who is one of the most lethal three-point shooters in the game currently, statistically. He would give that team an element that they don't have right now. They would have to definitely give up one of their young, good players like a Kuzma or an Ingram to get him. But if they're looking for championships with LeBron James, that might be a move they might have to make for another team. And they're going to have to give up one of their young guys to get a very good three-point shooter. But in this NBA, if you don't have a great three-point shooter, you don't have much of anything. Chandler is much more aggressive, but Chandler is a big. Chandler is a big man. He's a center. So, yeah, instead of Lopez, but I have a soft spot for Brook Lopez mostly. He was a Brooklyn Net. I love Brook Lopez, okay? Chandler can't shoot threes. He blocks guys and he plays defense. But I do like the pickup of Tyson Chandler. He's old. He's 37. They just picked him up, but he's a good pickup for the Lakers. And it's going to help them, but they need a guy that can shoot threes. They're struggling from the three-point area, and that's why they're losing games. They're going to gel. They're going to get better because all LeBron teams go through this whole entire of who's a hierarchy. We know LeBron's number one, but where does everybody else fall? Who is who? Kyle Kuzma staying aggressive, but everyone else is kind of like, do I step on LeBron's toes? Is he going to be mad? And LeBron just wants everyone to go out there and ball. So speaking of the West, are the Warriors still all alone out there in the West? Are they still by far the best team in the West? And the answer right now is yes. Currently, my Brooklyn Nets are playing the Warriors. I don't even know what the score is, but currently they're playing them. And it's a tough game for anybody to win. And right now they're playing them without Curry and Draymond, and they're losing. And that's just how good and how deep the Warriors are. They still have Kevin Durant. They still have Klay Thompson. They still have a full team, and this is without DeMarcus Cousins playing because he's not healthy yet. So the Warriors are a scary team, and they're going to be a scary team until they split up, and I can't see them splitting up really anytime soon. So it's going to be a tough go for teams to dethrone the Warriors. The Warriors almost lost last year because they were bored. They were really bored with the NBA. They are that good that they are a team that is bored. So Santos, you don't like the new look me? New look me is a stud. I don't want to hear it, Santos. I'm a good looking man. All right, bro. But anyway, yeah, the Nets are down right now, but they're on a second of a back-to-back against the best team in the NBA, so I'm not too worried. If they lose this game, as long as they play well, that's all I'm worried about. It's Alex, the dad look. Well, I am a dad, so thanks, Melissa. But overall, I think the Warriors are standing on their own right now. I think they're standing on their own in the league still. But the league is really interesting at this point because there's a lot of teams playing good basketball. And again, I'm just curious. The Butler trade just threw a wrench into everything. And I'm curious how he's going to gel on that team. But right now, I think the Lakers are standing alone. All right, I'm jumping into an interesting topic that I don't know if many people saw, but Floyd Money Mayweather has agreed to step in and fight MMA. And no, it's not against McGregor. It's not against anyone in the UFC. It's not even in Bellator. He's fighting in an Asian league against an Asian guy. I don't know who the guy is. I don't know what the league is, but he agreed to fight over in Asia. And yo, what up, Kenny? Thank you for clarifying that it's you and not Melissa. But he's fighting over in Asia, and there are a few reasons why I think Floyd has decided to do this. Number one, he's taken a lot of criticism over the fact that he won't step in and fight MMA because everyone keeps on saying he's going to get beat up, which more than likely he will. He's a boxer. He's not an MMA fighter. He doesn't grapple. He doesn't kick. He just throws punches really quick, really accurately, and a lot more than anyone else does. Few reasons why I think he's doing this. First off, I think he's going to do it to see if he can compete in MMA. He wants to prove it to himself that he can do it, and he wants to prove to himself that he could be good at it. He's fought his whole life. He's been successful at fighting sports, and he just wants to go out and show the world that he can be a successful fighter. So that's probably the main reason why I think he's doing it. But overall, is it going to work out in his favor? I don't think so. I think the next reason is because he isn't ready for UFC and Bellator, and he knows it. And Kenny, you said it's like Kimbo Slice going in the octagon. Yeah, Kimbo Slice was just a street fighter that jumped in the octagon and got his butt whooped. He looked good, I think, for one fight. And then when he fought against a guy who is really a good fighter, he got his ass handed to him. And I think even if Floyd has some success in Asia, he's going to get his head big. And you put him in Bellator, and I think every guy in Bellator would tear him up, just like every guy in the UFC would tear him up. But Floyd's a fighter. Floyd's going to try and prove to himself that he can do this, that he can succeed. I I don't think this is a good look for Mayweather. I think he might even just cancel out of it after he does publicity. But the only other reason why I can see Floyd Money Mayweather going through with this is his nickname, Money. There has got to be a boatload of money coming his way in order for him to agree to do anything like this. I think he made something like 300 million off the ticket to when he fought Connor, and this has got to be astronomical. And he must owe money to the IRS again. I wouldn't doubt it. Honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. He lives a ridiculously extravagant life. He spends his money as quick as he makes it. And he might owe money to IRS again, and that's why he's fighting. Even though Santos, I feel like he can get a fight in boxing against a Canelo, against another one of these up and coming fighters. I feel like they would fight him, and he would make a ridiculous amount of money off that ticket. So I don't know if it's only that reason or if Nate, you're a great guy to join. Why is Floyd Money Mayweather fighting in MMA right now? Nate, if you stay in this, please let me know why he's fighting in MMA. Why else would he have this fight, Matt? I think, like I said, I think he has this fight. I think he wants to prove it to himself. I think he knows that he's not ready for Bellator and UFC, and this is kind of his test fight. If he can compete with this dude, if he can beat this guy, then I think he's going to try and jump into the next level and try and jump right into UFC, which Dana White would take him in a heartbeat, especially if he fights well, because he's broke. Matt, you're ridiculous. You're just riding that. But there's got to be boatloads of money involved in Asia. Whatever league he's fighting in probably is paying him upwards of $200 million just to fight. And you know he's going to put some insane bet on himself. So he always tries to double down on his money. So we'll see if what Floyd can do. A lot of people are going to pay for this fight. You know it's going to be on pay-per-view. A lot of people are going to really talk about this fight like it's a real fight, even though it's not. It's just another glorified exhibition. He's going to try and catch somebody with a punch, and he's going to get grappled. He's going to get beat up. And that's just the reality of it. I'm done with Floyd. Jumping on to college football. Right now, college football is really getting into some interesting territory. We're getting closer and closer to the college football playoff. And just want to talk about some of the asks going on. It really seems right now like it's Alabama and everybody else, like it has been for a few years. Every once in a while it comes in and Alabama's just the team. They're 10-0. They haven't had a single challenge this year. And it's just interesting to see just how well Nick Saban and Bama just dominates year after year after year after year. And it's one of the main reasons why college football playoff just can't keep him out. Just can't keep Bama out of the playoff because they are a team that is that good. They are a team that year after year after year, they do put up numbers, they do put up results, and they just want to keep them in, and deservedly so. But I want to talk about a few other teams besides Bama. First off, University of Central Florida. They're 9-0, probably going to be 10-0 after this week. If they run the table again, will they be screwed again? Last year, they were definitely screwed. I know a lot of people are saying, well, they would have just gotten beat up in the playoff. Well, it doesn't matter. They were undefeated. And they were in a conference that isn't necessarily considered a Power Five conference, but they are probably a tier, the AAC, right underneath the Power Five conferences. And I'm going to talk a little more about the Power Five conferences right after this. But if UCF runs the table again, if they win the AAC again, I feel like it would be a travesty and completely wrong for the committee to hold them out once again. I think right now they're sitting at like 15th, 12th, 10th, something like that, with the 9-0 record. And they've beaten some really good offensive teams in the AIC that score a lot of points. If they run the table, they need to get the respect they deserve. You need to put them in the playoff and let them at least prove that they deserve to be there. And if they don't, they don't. They get beat, but they earn that right during the regular season. And I don't want to hear about, well, they don't play the same level of competition. Phooey. The AAC has shown that their level of competition there is pretty damn high. There's some really good teams that come out of that conference, and they compete. They are, like I said, arguably the next best conference out of the Power Five. And that brings me to my next topic with the Power Five. The Pac 12 is god awful. They have one team, one, uno, one team, one team in the top 25, and that's Washington State. And they're just, Pac 12 is awful. There is not a single good team, including Washington State, coming out of the Pac 12. And people want to keep them as a Power Five team conference. I think it might be time to look at some of these Power Five conferences. The Big 12 is having a resurgence this year, but there was a few years that it's not good. You think Wazoo is gonna beat Bama, Matt? You're out of your mind. But there are a few times where the Big 12 was a joke. Now the Pac 12 is completely a joke. The Pac 12 is a joke completely. And I don't, Matt, I don't know. A Pac 12 is not good, but I don't think that the Pac 12 deserves to be considered a Power Five conference anymore. I think the AAC has proven more over the past 5 years that they are a better, more competitive, deeper conference than the Pac 12. The Pac 12 has just been a conference of disappointment upon disappointment upon disappointment, where traditional teams that are good continue to disappoint. Clemson is a joke. I'm not a big fan of Clemson. The ACC is better than the Pac 12, Matt. And the ACC, I still think, is possibly better than the Big 12. It's not as strong as it has been in years past. You could thank Willie Taggart for destroying Florida State for that, because he is an absolute joke and he needs to lose his job. But it's, I don't know, the best conference, SEC West. SEC East is not. SEC East is one of the weakest conferences in the nation every single year. I don't want to hear that, Matt. We can argue this another time, but we'll go on a podcast and we'll argue this one day, Matt. But the SEC East is awful, and I won't hear anything about that. But the SEC West is really good. But again, back to my original point, the Pac 12 isn't good. I think the AAC is better. And I think we need to have real conversations about the Power Fives and whether or not there should even be Power Fives anymore. We should get rid of these automatic bid conferences. Just get rid of them. They don't belong. When you have a playoff system, there shouldn't be conferences that just because you come out of that conference, you deserve to have a chance to play for it. No. If you have an undefeated season, if you have a good out of conference schedule, if you defeat teams handedly, then you deserve to be represented in the playoff. And that's just the bottom line. There shouldn't be these Power Five conferences anymore. I think that whole entire construct is a joke. And Matt, bringing up Kentucky and Georgia, don't talk to me about Georgia. Georgia does this every year where they look good and then they shit the bed. As well, as far as Kentucky, Kentucky's Wisconsin. We can be honest about that. Kentucky is Wisconsin out of the SEC, where they're going to look really good, they're going to look really strong, and then they're going to go and they're going to go into territory they're not used to, and they're going to flounder. So I don't want to hear anything about either of those two teams. Final thing about college football, Notre Dame, they're 9-0 right now. They're currently whooping the hell out of Florida State. But I'm really curious, do they need to join a conference? Is it time for Notre Dame to join a conference? I know a lot of Notre Dame faithful are going to say, hell no, stay independent. Independent is where they are, it's where they live. But let's look at it this way. If Notre Dame stumbles and Notre Dame becomes a one-loss team, and then you have other teams that are one loss that are in conferences like the Big Ten, like the SEC, like even the Big 12. And they're one loss teams as well, and they end up winning their conference tournament, their conference championship game. And it's between that team and Notre Dame for the final spot of the playoff. I feel like the committee, because Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference, doesn't have that chance to be in a championship game, will go with that team that wins their conference championship. And I know the argument always is that Notre Dame plays probably the toughest schedule out of any team outside of an SEC team year after year after year. And while that is granted, the fact that there is a single week every year that they are not seen because they don't play in a conference really hurts their case, especially in this playoff model. I think that it might be time for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to join a conference. I know there's certain people that talk about this at nauseum that it's time for them to join a conference. They never do it, but they really need to start considering doing it because they are going to get screwed one of these years where they deserve to be in it. They get one loss, and it might be later in the season. They don't play a championship game, and because they don't do that, another team shows out really well in their game, and the committee goes a little blind, forgets about all the accomplishments in Notre Dame, and they get screwed. So overall, this year is not an easy year to predict. Besides Bama, I think Bama is in the college football playoff. I think they're a lock. I'd like to believe that Central Florida runs the table. I would love to see Central Florida in it. West Virginia looks like a team that can continue to run the table down in the Big 12. And I think if Clemson finishes, Matt, I know you hate the ACC, but if Clemson finishes that their title run, wins out, wins ACC, you're going to see Clemson. So those are my four predictions right now on the table. Four teams are going to be Alabama, UCF, Clemson, and West Virginia. Those are my four playoff teams. It's a really weird playoff. But at this point of the year, at this point in the season, those are my four teams that I pick for the college football playoff. I'm going to talk a little bit about college basketball. And it's tough for me to talk about college basketball. I know plenty of people got really hyped up for college basketball. I have some of my friends that were so happy it's back and they're pumped and they're watching it and blah, blah, blah. And college basketball does a great job early in the year of putting former champions against themselves now and big historic teams and trying to create rivalries where you put some of these Michigan States and Kentuckys, and right away we got Kentucky Duke right off the bat. Like that's awesome and that's great. And Duke handled Kentucky, and Kentucky's gonna bounce back, and they're fine. Duke is a really good young team. They're more than likely going to run away with the title this year because they're just really good. But Kentucky's going to be there in the end. They're really good too. But I can't say much about college basketball right now. It's such a long season. And there is a phase of college basketball that is really boring before conference play, where all of these non-conference games are going on and none of it really matters because your big teams, they worry about their conference, where your North Carolinas, they worry about their ACC titles. And you have other teams in the Big East that worry about the Big East, and they play these out of conference games. But even the people in the committee that are deciding the tournament at the end of the year, they pay more attention to conference championships, and they pay more attention to what you do in your conference because they understand out of conference games are early in the year. Teams are trying to figure themselves out, and within the first 2-3 weeks of the season, the losses, as long as they're not debilitating and you don't look completely terrible, then it's not going to affect you. Nevada's the real deal. Yeah, I think Nevada's the real deal too, Matt. I saw some highlights. I can't say I watched them play, but I saw some highlights, and it's gonna be real good. Carolina, yeah, Carolina's disgusting too. There's the play this year looks like it could be fun. It looks like there's some better players this year to carry the mantle than we've seen in a long time. And I'm just it's exciting, but again, college basketball right now, there's a lot of people that eat, sleep, and breathe college basketball, a lot of pundits that talk about it. I don't necessarily eat, sleep, and breathe college basketball, but I also enjoy watching it. And I just know for a fact that at this time in the year, there is no point in making true speculations because you don't know what's going to happen, especially with injuries, but you also don't know who's going to pop up. It's a really long season. And some teams shock you and some teams play well. And again, when it hits conference play is when I start getting really interested. Do you think Nevada Duke national championship, Matt? That's a bold statement, and I'm holding you to that. Nevada Duke national championship, as well, only if they're not on the same side of the bracket, Matt. If they're on the same side of the bracket, then your whole entire prediction might get screwed. But you still got to watch out for teams like a Villanova, who always, every year, just have those seniors that have been there for 4 years. They know Jay Wright's system, and they don't have these big superstar names that everyone talks about at the beginning of the year. But then as the year goes on, you see them just winning and winning and winning and winning. And it's just really scary. And then you have to worry about these small mid majors that have this coach that's going to really pick that team up. And if these small mid majors are going to be able to make some noise, if you're going to have your butlers who make noise, or you're going to have other teams like that out of these mid majors, college basketball, I do have to say, college basketball is the one sport where it's kind of forced parity because yes, you have all these one and dones, but you have some of these amazing coaches. And yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Jay Wright is a genius. He is on Krzyzewski level. He's on all these other. He's on Izzo level. He's on all these other guys' levels, Calipari level. He might even actually be a better coach. So because he does take these guys 4 years and takes these players who aren't top 25 players, real big blue chippers, and turns them into really good players and some really good NBA players who are not necessarily stars, but very good role players. St. John's is going to be good. They're a strong backcourt. Pons and Heron are a strong backcourt. I agree with you, Matt. I will believe St. John's will be good when I see it because every year St. John's is supposed to be better or good, and every year it doesn't happen. So, Matt, as much as I want to believe you, I will believe it when I see it. And also, I want to just give a big upset to my Marist Red Foxes basketball. I just saw the final. They beat Columbia 82-76. And even if Columbia isn't as good as they normally are out of the Ivy, that's a big win for Marist and a Marist team that has been really bad for a long time. They have a new coach, and I'm hoping that Marist can actually make some noise this year. And it'll be interesting to see just how well they play this year. So, but yeah, for the rest of college basketball, again, I'm not willing to make any speculations this early. I like Duke. All the guys that you brought up, Matt, are completely, I agree with you on all those, but I really like Duke. Um, I can't count out Villanova, can't ever count out Jay Wright, but I'm just interested to see which one of these mid majors is going to make some noise. Who is going to disrupt everything, and who is going to sit there and be a bracket buster and have a good time, mess around, and destroy everyone's hopes and dreams in the brackets. But all right, this one was a little bit of a quicker live show. We had another technical difficulty with Facebook, which kind of pissed me off. But it is what it is. But again, it's a little bit of a shorter live show, but I'm trying to actually shorten up the shows in general, and I hope that everyone's going to appreciate that. I appreciate everyone that watched and on YouTube, on Facebook, anyone that listened on Spreaker. Again, I'm Alex Cuesta. I'm your host. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at @A_Cuesta30. Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. On Instagram, Sports Opinions 30. Facebook, you can visit the page. We are now on TuneIn. We are on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music. We're on a bunch of places. We're doing a lot of work. We're doing some things behind the scenes right now that's going to try and legitimize us a little more. And I really appreciate everyone's support and everyone that continues to support especially guys like Matt Santos. You come on the show all the time. You're always working, appreciating. Kenny Martinez, really appreciate all you. Melissa, I appreciate you. Um, Julie, I appreciate you. Anyone else that's come on the show, just had Kevin Mallist on, former Rutgers alum, NFL player. He's had an unbelievable show with me. Scoopy Robinson, all these people that have just continued to be there. Phil Watson of Nothing But Nets, Louis Torado Jr., Jet Press, all these guys that support the show, support the program, good friends of the program. Thank everyone. I really appreciate everyone that comes out and watches and listens. Um, if you tell all your friends, please do. Please tell them to go on any of these, subscribe, like, give me 5 stars, listen, let me know, critique, interact, come on the show, do all the above. I already know, Kenny, you're coming on the show good in a little bit. So we're going to have a great podcast. Like I said, Matt's been on the show. These are all guys, and any women, I have no women on the show besides Brittany. Love to have more women. But these are all people that you don't have to be someone in the sports world to come on Sports Opinions. If you have opinions about sports, you're a fan, come on the show. We'll have a good time. But again, everyone, thank you very much for watching, listening. This was Sports Opinions Podcast live stream. I really appreciate everyone coming on. Have a good one. Have a good night.